Greetings and welcome to the Eskay Mining Conference. It is now my pleasure to introduce your host, Quinton Henney. Thank you, Mr. Henney. You may begin.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to talk today about Eskay Mining. I am a technical advisor to Eskay Mining, the company, BC-focused explorer, trading in Canada on the Venture Exchange. You can see the first slide here, the various symbols that you can buy Eskay shares. Today, we're going to be talking about several items that require a disclaimer. This disclaimer and presentation are available on the website for people's perusal. I would encourage you to read these. Okay, a little bit of background about the company. The share price is currently hovering around 45 cents Canadian. Of course, today is a holiday in Canada, so it's not trading actively. We've had a range of about 7 cents to 56 cents in the past year. Currently, there's 130 million shares out. Fully diluted, it comes to about 153 million shares. Market capitalization at present is about 59 million Canadian. You can see we have a couple million in the treasury. This amount of money is what is needed to undertake our current 2020 field program. We have made several announcements about that recently. This program is fully funded and currently underway. People involved with the company include Mac Balcom, who's the CEO, President, and Director. Mac has been with the company for about, I believe, 8 or 9 years now. He's basically taken the company and reshaped it to its current form, which is first-rate explorer. The other directors you can see there, Carmelo, Robert, and Gordon, all seasoned in the mining industry. You can see their qualifications. Myself, technical advisor. I am on the slate to become director here in about 2 weeks' time. I joined the company roughly a year ago at a time when I could see, the opportunity here to really advance some stuff on the technical front. In particular, I happen to be very good friends with a professor at the Colorado School of Mines here in Colorado at Golden. His name is Thomas Monarchy. He did his dissertation at the Eskay Creek deposit, which is very near Eskay Mining's property. And he has expertise in these precious metal-rich VMS systems, volcanogenic massive sulfide systems. Anyway, when I discussed the potential of helping Eskay here, he jumped on the opportunity, so I'm working directly with him, as well as one of his postdoc students, John DeDecker. John is a geochemist with a focus on using geochemistry to explore for ore deposits. So we have a first-class team, well-seasoned and focused on VMS deposits, which I'll speak about momentarily. Charlie Gregg is also an advisor. Charlie's a well-seasoned explorer in the BC area, in the Golden Triangle in particular. We're very glad to have him aboard as well. Okay, so what are the salient aspects of the company? We have a very large land package, about 526 square kilometers, in the highly prospective Golden Triangle of BC. So we're basically right in the heart of things, and we're right in the neighborhood of numerous world-class deposits. We have a compelling structural setting, which is this graben-like feature. It's basically a valley, think of it that way, in which these precious metal-rich VMS systems form. You can see here we're surrounded by various world-class deposits. The Eskay Creek mine is immediately to the north. Looks like the computer translation, when it printed the document, made some edits on its own, so forgive us for those. You've also got Seabridge's KSM Kerr Sulfurettes project immediately to the east of us. Pretium's Brucejack mine also to the east of us. More recently, Tudor Gold has announced their Treaty Creek discovery. Again, that's to the east of us. So basically, we have VMS to the north, and then we have very large porphyry systems to the east. We have a number of different deposit types that we're targeting on the property. The VMS, probably first and foremost, these are the precious metal-rich VMS deposits. But we do also have potential for high-grade low gold systems, as well as that copper-gold porphyry potential. This map shows our position in the Golden Triangle. You can see we have a very idyllic setting. We're basically right in the middle of most of those world-class deposits that I mentioned previously. So really, we have the best of both worlds. We got the best of the VMS potential as well as very, very good porphyry copper gold potential. Very good infrastructure developing developing in the BC area, the Golden Triangle area. You can see a list of the excellent access and power infrastructure that we have available. This shows a close-up of our property. We have a little over 52,000 hectares in the property. In fact, we have 52,600 to be precise. Part of this property, the yellow and the blue, is in joint venture, 80-20 joint venture with Kirkland Lake being the minority partner. We also have a large block called the Quarry property, which is 100% controlled by Eskay Mining. The VMS trend extends from the Eskay Creek mine, which is the very northern part of the image, and extends southward to the Quarry property. So we basically control what would be probably 85% of the current VMS trend as we know it. The recent interpretations that Thomas and his team, Thomas, John, and so forth, have done on the geology of the property indicate that we have very strong potential for additional VMS discoveries. We see those discoveries all the way down to the Quarry property, and we think that we have a major VMS belt basically already within the existing land package. But we also have that porphyry potential, so that you can see on the right-hand side there where the red blobs are, those are the footprints of those big porphyry systems. And that belt actually continues onto our property, particularly down in the Quarry part of the property. Okay, I'm going to talk a little bit about Eskay Creek deposits. Eskay Creek is the richest gold-bearing and silver-bearing VMS deposit on Earth. You can see here that Eskay Creek delivered over, somewhere in the neighborhood of 3.3 million ounces of gold over its production history. Also included was 161 million ounces of silver. That's just an outstanding number. The gold grade, life of mine, was a little over 45 grams. The silver grade, I kid you not, was 2.2 kilograms per ton. So this qualifies it as the richest VMS system on Earth. This diagram shows you where it falls with respect to other VMS systems. So it's basically head and shoulders above any of the others in terms of grade, which is on the vertical axis. As far as the horizontal axis, the ton, it actually falls in the middle of the range. Okay, so we're talking about a modest-sized tonnage, but it nonetheless delivered a huge amount of metal. Now, VMS deposits almost always form in camps. Is Eskay Creek on its own? We don't think so. In fact, we think that there will be more deposits to be discovered primarily on our ground, and that will put Eskay Creek in a good, we'll call it family of deposits, and some of those might actually be bigger than the current Eskay Creek deposit. So we're very optimistic there's more to be found. This image shows you the geology of the immediate Eskay Creek area. It basically sits along the northernmost fold nose of a giant anticline. And anticline is simply rock that's been folded upwards. The deposit, if you can see in cross-section on the right-hand side, is a flat line. It's conformable with the stratigraphy. Basically, it follows the stratigraphy. So think of these things like black smokers that formed on the ocean floor. These things came up, laid down layers of sulfide, in this case very rich in gold and silver, were then subsequently buried, folded, and now uplifted, and here they are in their current position. This is the ore that came out of Eskay Creek. You can see the shiny stuff in each image. It's basically sulfide minerals of various types, mainly pyrite. You get different textures. For instance, in the central area, you see a lot of what we call brecciation, broken up material. As you go outward from that, the breccia starts to diminish and it becomes more and more layered. And by the time you get clear down to the more distal areas, it actually is disseminated sulfides. Nonetheless, all of this material generates very high grades. What's really important here is to note the size of the system. The footprint of this system is really small compared to most ore deposits. We're talking about something that's maybe 100 to 200 meters wide and a few hundred meters long. Okay, so in terms of the area that we're looking, this is basically a very, very small footprint for the exploration target that we're seeking. Okay, this image shows the general trend of the VMS camp. You can see it extends from Eskay Creek mine in the north. We've got many, many different prospects, all the way from Lulu, which is the yellow star that's northernmost on our map here, all the way down to the C10 and GFJ area, which is at the south. That's a distance of something like 25 kilometers of strike. So basically, it's a trend of VMS prospects. We've analyzed the geology of many of these things, even though historic work that was done here often missed the fact that these were VMS deposits. We now have the team in place to fully understand these and appreciate them for what they are. All of these prospects are poorly explored at this point. These things have not seen any modern exploration in probably 20 to 30 years. Okay, it's an absolutely remarkable situation where you have a belt right in the heart of an existing gold district, a very prolific gold district, where the tenements have basically not seen systematic modern exploration. Okay, we have an exceptional opportunity here. The first area I'm going to talk about is the Lulu area. You can see its position here. The blue is Skeena. Skeena acquired Eskay Creek 100%, or is in the process of doing so right now, from Barrick. Lulu is immediately south, so it's the ground immediately on strike. Again, we have this 80, 20% to Kirkland Lake. Here's a close-up of the geology. Eskay Creek is at the northern right-hand corner of this image. You can follow the geology, the strike of the beds, all the way down, and you can see how they enter our ground on the green. The extensions that you see in light blue are basically areas we think are highly prospective for more Eskay type mineralization. The Lulu zone, which is partially drilled, is actually a stockwork feeder, the underlying stockwork mineralization underneath the VMS. So we feel very strongly that we have ample room and space here to explore for a stratiform, a blanket-like VMS system immediately to the left of that Lulu stockwork zone. All right, here's a close-up to show some of the historic drilling. So the Lulu zone has delivered phenomenal results over time. 14.4 gram gold, 1,060 grams silver, over 14 meters. Okay, so even though this is stockwork mineralization, it's really delivered some impressive historic results. More recently, Silver Standard, when they had the option agreement with Eskay Mining, they drilled a hole right on the property boundary with the Eskay property to the north, and that hole hit stockwork mineralization, including one intercept of a meter of 61.9 grams per ton. Again, we're in the right neighborhood. We know the system is live on our side of the property, on our side of the system, and we anticipate being able to find the actual massive sulfide as we advance our understanding of this very important, very prolific system. This image shows some drilling, some past drilling with the gold results you can see on the subsurface there. This is an oblique view. We're looking northward, basically along strike to the Eskay deposit. The SIB property, again, that's stockwork mineralization that was encountered. We want to explore the stuff immediately to the left of that image. Okay, so I'm going to focus on the target that we have in hand here. You can see the blue circle there, the light blue circle. That's our target area. We're going to look at this thing in cross-section now. Here's what we think is going on. Okay, so the image here shows you a cross-sectional view looking south. So the image is basically flipped around. So now the target is actually on the right-hand side of the stockwork zone. But the red circle is where most historic drilling has been done to date. In the footwall rhyolite, that's the feeder zone for the VMS. We think the stratiform, the Eskay Creek style prize, is immediately adjacent to that. In this case, looking south, we're looking at the right-hand side. So that boundary between the yellow and the gray is where the big prize is. We will undertake some drilling on that once we have a better refined model. The guys are currently relogging a lot of drill core from this target, This is historic drill core, and once we have a full picture in 3D in the computer, we can better target where we're going to place our drills. Next image here, we're going to talk about the quarry prospect. So we're down at the south end of the property. Most of this is 100% on ground. You can see here numerous metal prospects. These are precious metal prospects, mainly of VMS type, but there is also evidence of porphyry type. You can see off to the right-hand side, the red stars, those are all porphyry deposits, with the exception of Brucejack, which is a low gold system. But Kerr, Sulphurettes, Mitchell, Ironcap, even Snowfield, these are very large porphyry systems. And that belt appears to trend to the southwest onto our ground. So things like Big Red, for example, perhaps even Red Lightning, could well be porphyry targets. We are assessing those right now. We're going back and looking at some of the historic drilling that's been done, making those assessments to kind of differentiate between the porphyry and the VMS type. But generally from the, say, C10 area northward, we have already confirmed that all of those prospects in that region are indeed precious metal VMS systems. I'm going to talk about a couple of these, or a few of these individually. The TVJEF area is clearly emerging as a priority drill target for us. It clearly demonstrates SK type VMS mineralization. You can see here an outcrop actually found very recently by our team near some ancient drill holes that were drilled about 30 years ago. This style of mineralization, that bright shiny stuff, that's sulfide. Okay, that is massive sulfide mineralization. There is no way one could argue anything different. This is VMS style mineralization. We know from drilling at TVJEF there were some very good grades hit in places. In fact, over 100 gram per ton grades in SK style mineralization. You can see the core box on the right hand side. That shows you a lot of the stockwork VMS that was encountered in those old drill holes, but it also shows you a bit of mudstone, that dark gray stuff that you see on the far right hand side. That looks a heck of a lot like SK. So we're very excited about this. We've got some geophysics underway right now that we anticipate highlighting many high priority targets in this area. Again, this has not been drilled for 30 years. Okay, so we're coming back into an area where now we have a full understanding of these types of systems, understanding how to target them. Previous operators here simply did not have the clear understanding of what Eskay Creek was, nor did they understand the geology of these VMS systems all that well at that time. We are really on the cutting edge of making what I think is a significant new discovery of Eskay style mineralization. Remember the context. VMS occur in camps. We think we have a major one here at TVJEF. Another area that we've been focusing recently is called Cumberland. Again, samples and rock samples in geology we're seeing on the ground largely confirm the VMS nature of this system. You can see that photograph on the far right. That's actually massive sphalerite, zinc sulfide. That's the style of mineralization you see in a VMS deposit. We also have massive pyrite, like in the top image, and it does appear to be stratiform. It appears to follow strata, which is what you would expect for a VMS system. Again, we're doing geophysics here right now. We anticipate that geophysics will highlight high priority areas to drill. We see this as an exceptional target as well, likely to be tested later this year. Okay, last target I'm going to talk about today, but I think it's very important. This is called TET, T-E-T. It is down in that southern area. This rock on the right-hand side, it's basically what I think is a VMS stockwork mineralization. What makes it unique is the gray mineral, which is called tetrahedrite, has very, very rich silver grades. Many of the samples that have come from TET historically grade over 1%. You heard me right, 1% silver. That's the kind of silver grade one would expect with, say, Eskay Creek style VMS system. Right, so what am I saying here? Well, what I'm saying is tetrahedrite, which is common at Eskay Creek mine, links these two together. It suggests that these are the same genre of deposits. And the fact that you have super high silver is also indicative. Okay, this system, if we prove through the field work we're currently doing that this is a stockwork feeder zone to VMS, we're very encouraged by the fact that this southern area, this quarry property, the 100% owned ground, could host VMS systems, much like Eskay Creek. Again, VMS occurring camps, we see that kind of potential on this property. Now, what else are we doing? We've got a lot of work underway. We are well into our 2020 program. We have geophysics going on. We finished our Skytown survey recently. That data is being processed. We have ground-induced polarization surveys going. We have ground MT surveys going. All of this data is going to coalesce into a new model for the property sometime around the middle of August. At that time, we anticipate interpreting the data, including the understandings that we're gaining from the re-logging of core, and as well as revisiting these various prospects in the field. We anticipate developing a priority drill target program for later this year. We've signed a drill contract very recently. We announced that last week. We anticipate starting to drill sometime in late August. That will give us a few weeks, perhaps say 6 to 8 weeks of drilling before the snow flies. That should allow us to undertake around a 3,000-meter program. That's the contract we've signed. Again, we anticipate testing things like TVJF, the Cumberland prospect, perhaps this TET prospect, and perhaps even one or two others in the short term. What will we see at the end of this? We anticipate getting some indications, perhaps even significant indications we're on to a major VMS camp here. Can I conclude that we're going to have huge resources by the end of the year? No. This program is really going to be a test to see if we have potential discoveries across the property. Once we get that information back in hand, we can then more carefully devise a program, a more extensive drill program for the 2021 season. How are discoveries made? Persistence. We have the team. We have a lot of work going. We have the model built. We understand the geology of this property now. Persistence is what it takes. I expect in the next 12 to 18 months, we will be able to tell the market that we have one or multiple discoveries of significant precious metal-rich VMS and or porphyry mineralization across our property. And with that, I'm going to end, and I'll address any questions that have come in. Okay, I see a couple of questions here. One, is Kirkland Lake actively involved in the exploration strategies on the joint venture ground? It's a very, very good question. Kirkland Lake is certainly being appraised of the work we're doing, and they are, we anticipate they'll participate as a joint venture interest in terms of cost, but no, they are not dictating exactly, where or how monies are spent. We are the operators, and we intend to follow a very prescriptive geologic approach that leads to discovery. The guys at Kirkland Lake, great team. I've worked with them in the past. This exploration, though, is being purely driven by Eskay Mining. Okay, another question that's come in about our geophysical program. What do we anticipate seeing? Well, here's what we expect to see. The techniques we're using, Skytown, which is really an EM system, and then the IP and the MT, will all do a good job highlighting areas where we see conductive rocks and or chargeable rocks. These would be rocks that have volumes of sulfide associated with them. And at this point in time, I can tell the audience here that the status of geophysics has improved dramatically over the past few years. We are to the point where we can identify in very discrete terms, very, very high, with high precision targets that are shallow, that are easily drill testable. I anticipate having a number of such targets by the end of this year. I think it's going to turn out to be a very exciting story where we can present to the market very, very solid evidence that we have a VMS camp in our property here. All right, so both VMS and porphyry mineralization are minimal to the various geophysical techniques we're using. We will be able to see anything that shows up as a potential target that has associated sulfide and or silicification with it. And that's where I'll end today. We're at 25 minutes. Appreciate everybody's time. Absolutely delighted to present this new exciting story right in the heart of the Golden Triangle. Thank you.